He actually, for Hanger, does peer visits to new amputees in the hospital, especially upper extremity amputation. He apparently got tied up leaving Charlotte for the peer visitation this morning. He told me he's running about 20 minutes late and should be here any time. But while we're waiting on him to come, we are going to actually let Mike speak a little bit from the process standpoint about upper extremity prosthetics and how you decide between terminal devices and some of the cost questions. The floor is all yours, buddy.
How y'all doing? I don't see my shirt up here. You've already got a problem. So Robin's throwing me under the bus, pretty much. So some of the questions that or topics that she wanted me to cover as a practitioner, just from the get, I'm not sure what her speech has been about, what her presentation has been about, so I'm trying to bring it from, let's say, a new amputee to a seasoned amputee. When do we go with myoelectrics? When do we consider myoelectrics? When do we consider mostly body power? One of the questions may be, okay, what does insurance cover? In the military, if you are military affiliated, the sky's the limit. There are companies out there, all the companies are going to Waldron and Bethesda to present any new technology that they may have, or maybe consider the engineers and everything. So that's a great testing ground for myoelectrics, for body power, for terminal devices that are similar to a Griper. A Griper is a working device, has a lot of grip potential and grip pressure that is adjustable. There is, you guys are not privy to this, but there are a lot of advancements in upper extremity especially that's really exciting. Robin may not even know about some of this, but I'd be surprised if she did. But so typically we would start a patient out with body power. We want that patient, for insurance companies outside of the military, we're talking about, outside of the military, what the insurance companies want us to do is to actually prove nowadays that a patient is a candidate for a prosthetic. So they want us to start basic, which is body power, harness systems, etc., and have that patient prove, number one, that they're going to use the prosthesis. Because we know that the success rate, as far as we're concerned as prosthetists, is very low on acceptance of upper extremity. Most patients will figure out how to do stuff without prosthesis, especially if they're using body power. Body power is a pain in the butt. It's a pain in the butt to put on. It's a pain in the butt to gross body motions to make things happen. They can easily more cover up their arm with a long sleeve shirt than actually go into all of the training and everything that it takes to use body power prosthetics. Nowadays, once again, most insurance companies want us to prove that, number one, that the patient's going to use it. So when we do that, we apply the basic technology. We videotape the series if we're going to eventually go to the higher level, which is myoelectrics. Okay? So documentation. That's where you guys come in. You guys help us with documentation. We actually nowadays have been, it's getting worse or better outcomes. Yes.
I have a kind of two-part.
Are you interrupting me right this question?
Yeah.
Right this second. I'm just now on roll. Okay, go ahead.
So the first one is with the military getting like kind of the status limit treatment. You said like the most common cause is trauma. So are they more prone to getting a prosthesis, say, in the whole population in terms of trauma?
Right.
Or I guess what makes the military such a high priority?
Mike,
Great question.
will you reword the question for the camera a little bit at least and then answer it?
I can't even hardly hear you myself.
I know, so just try to...
Okay, so what the question is, if I'm understanding it right, what makes the military guys and girls more of a candidate for any level of prosthetics as compared to normal, let's say, civilians? Number one, they are in the best shape of their lives, typically. My military, you're talking about people who have been in combat. Here's one little ditty on the side. Let's say that so far there are documented 478 amputees that have been wounded in war. Okay? What percentage do you think are lower extremity as compared to upper extremity? Anybody guess?
60-40 upper
Which way?
Upper extremity.
60-40? Any other guesses?
75% lower extremity.
75% lower extremity. You agree? Anybody else?
I say 60-40 lower extremity.
60% lower extremity?
Yes.
Most answers are that way. Most answers think that it's lower extremity. It's actually 85-15. It's really glamorous. I mean, the first amputee above the knee that ran with George W. Bush out of the Iraqi war. He was filmed, reported, running with George W. Bush. That's Ed Sallow out of Jacksonville, North Carolina. One of my patients down there, head of the Wounded Warrior Project. It's real glamorous to present on TV, especially in media, an amputee that is now progressed and rehabilitated, running, etc., using lower extremity. What you don't see, of course, when we talk about upper extremity, we're talking about fingers, partial hand, below elbow, above elbow, bilaterals, whatever. By far, if you can think about a finger, somebody losing a finger, or a half a digit, that's considered into the upper extremity range. Okay, so they far outnumber lower extremity. And out of all the wounded warriors together, the largest percentage of wounded warriors who are under that category are TBIs. They're not glamorous when you put them on TV. It's not so glamorous to present someone who has a traumatic brain injury that is so severe that they cannot function. They have to have a whole team around. So by far, the majority of all injuries in the military were TBIs by a large percentage. Okay? To answer your question, number one, they're in the best shape of their life. Number two, unlimited funding. You and I are paying for that. It's unlimited funding. Number three, all of the companies that produce upper extremity technology nowadays are flocking to Bethesda, Maryland, flocking to Walter Reed to try their product out. That's where they're developing their product. They have the best opportunity in the world for someone who is rehabilitated, motivated, ready to go, ready to try all this stuff. Okay? Does that answer your question? Okay. Plus the resources. The resources, they have teams from these other companies that are manufacturing upper extremity prosthetics at every single level that are there on site, ready to go. Unlimited. Pick something off the shelf. Hey, you want to try this hand? Nobody's ever tried this before. You want to try it? You want to try this rifle hook or this ramped up rifle hook that not only has the normal range or the lower range for a rifle at 28 pounds. This one right here has 130 pounds of grip force. You got guys below the elbow, BEs that can actually take it and grab a bar above their head and pull-ups with this thing. That's how tough these guys are. And girls, you're wrong. That help? So in the regular world, in the civilian world, we have to present nowadays that a patient can actually use it. Insurance companies, so we have disability, and y'all have disability as well, to call on your practitioner. Okay, I've got an upper extremity patient. This patient wants to try myoelectrics, wants to move up the line, wants to immediately jump into myoelectrics, wants to jump over top of conventional and go into myoelectric. You have the ability to call on your practitioner and say, hey man, got somebody over here, or hey young lady, got somebody over here that wants to try myoelectrics. We can show up with you and your patient with a test, like I've got back here, with a test upper extremity myoelectric prosthetic. Let's say that we're going to need to get authorization for services from an insurance company. We're going to be able to not only present, but we're going to be able to record and send that information to the insurance company along with painting a picture. We have to actually tell a story about this patient. This is what this patient's going to use it for. These are their daily activities. If we don't do that, they're going to be denied. Most of them get denied on the front end anyway, but we don't stop there. We continue to fight these insurance companies because ultimately they don't want to pay for anything. They don't want to pay for anything other than something basic that they're going to pay $2,000 for. They don't want to pay for something that's $40,000. They don't want to pay for something that's $120,000, right? These patients, we're going to have to paint that whole story, that whole picture. And it takes a team effort. It takes you guys, us, nurse, physician. All of it has to be documented. We have to build that whole story around this patient, and it's going to get harder and harder and harder to do that, to get that authorized by insurance companies. Make sense? A bioelectric prosthetic can range from anything from let's put a roundabout number, 10,000 to 150,000.
Like a full 4-quarter myoelectric with the EMG transplants and that you see, full myoelectric.
Yeah, $360,000 got we fit last year. Bilateral, whole 9 yards. That's the most expensive one I've ever fit. The technology going into that, all the components, all of the electrodes, the surgery and everything. $360,000. Wow, man, you made a lot of money. No, we didn't, because the technology that it takes to fit this guy, and all the expense of that is way up there. $280, $295, somewhere around there. Weeks, months of fitting. Presentation to the insurance company. We had to find the insurance company for Blue Cross and Blue Shield 2.5 years. We put him all the way through conventional prosthetics. We said, hey, yeah, we'll pay for that. Then we presented that this guy is a weightlifter. He's got 2 children he takes care of. His wife is injured. And so we had to paint that whole story. We had to pursue it. A lot of companies will stop. They get denied. They tell the patient, hey, can't do anything about it. We're denied. And, but if you pursue it, we don't give up. It's like, no, we're going to keep on pursuing it until we get coverage, because we are convinced that this patient is an excellent candidate for this technology. So we have to fight. It's a fight. It's a fight. Okay? All the way up to the most highest level that we've dealt with so far. Excuse me, that's what you're going to deal with. Is you guys have heard of osseointegration? Yes?
No.
Anybody? Osseointegration? Anybody but Rob? Oh, heck no. All y'all flunk. Osseointegration. Attaching a prosthesis directly to a bone.
They put the pin in the bone instead of in the residual limb. It
Okay.
wasn't till, how long ago in
Anybody
this
seen it?
country?
Huh?
Mike, when did they finally allow it in this country? Wasn't it about,
Last year.
yeah,
Upper extremity. Last year. They've been doing it in Europe for about
10,
12 years now.
10, 12 years?
Yeah. FDA, big pharma included, FDA has been blocking it for years, and probably rightfully so in Europe. So what they're doing is they are, like, let's take a transformer, or transformer, as Rob wants to say. So they take a rod and actually insert it into the femur, okay, for years, and it's actually poking out of the skin. So the skin is kind of wrapped around the rod that's now protruding out of the skin. We follow? I'm getting a lot of blank stare. Okay. So the first challenge was to have the right kind of epoxy or other materials that would adhere this rod to the bone enough to where it didn't move, to where it didn't break out of the bone and create some major problems down the road. Once again, we're just focused on transdermal. Took Europeans probably 5 or 6 years to overcome that barrier. Then, of course, they're attaching the prosthetic directly to that rod. There's no socket. Okay? Everybody good? No socket on the skin, yes.
What happens if you get an infection?
That's why
That's the problem.
FDA wouldn't let it in this country for a long time.
Yeah. And even though they're still really prone to infection, the Europeans, the amputees that were using it were saying, okay, I don't like wearing a socket, so I'm okay with being able to wear my prosthetic 3 to 4 weeks, then have to come out of it for a week or 10 days to heal because of infection. It took a good while for the medical community to learn how to clean the site where the rod exits the skin. and it's a regimen. Ed Salad, the same guy we were talking about that ran with George W. Bush, went through it at Bethesda, Maryland. The surgeon there is also the head surgeon, chief surgeon at Johns Hopkins. So he's done the first 4 osseointegration prosthetics in the United States. Ed Salad was one of them. Another amputee on the West Coast in Texas went through it. Both of them transfemorals. Recently, last year, this same surgeon, we had a patient in New Bern, hurt real bad in a motorcycle accident, him and his wife. He lost his left leg above the knee, right arm above elbow. Okay? We fitted him with transfemoral prosthetic, myoelectric, microprocessor, knee control unit, the whole 9 yards. Once again, Blue Cross and Blue Shield fighting like crazy for it. Fitted in with a conventional arm first, which they paid for. Eventually, they paid for a myoelectric arm, which was myoelectric elbow, myoelectric hand. Okay? Follow me so far? He asked me, he said, well, I've done some research on osseointegration. Do you think I'm a candidate? I said, well, there's only one way to find out. Why don't we ask Johns Hopkins, the surgeon, what he thinks? He said, well, he won't let us sit in there. Make a long story short, we painted his story. We presented his story to that surgeon. That surgeon invited him up there. Within 1 week, he decided he was a great candidate for it. Wound up fitting him with, right now successfully, he's fitted with osseointegrated above elbow prosthesis. They have been able to restore 28 functions of his elbow, his hand, and his wrist. They've got a Bluetooth chip in his scalp. All he has to do is think about it, and it happens. That's only the second one in the United States that's ever been done.
Successful?
Yes. They have restored 28 functions, and all he has to do is think about what he wants the prosthetic to do. That's the most advanced technology out there so far. Is that the wow factor? Y'all got any questions? How much more time I have? We turn on some praise and worship music.
He's osseointegration.
Shall we present that?
They should. He's a hip this or hip on one side.
He just got
All right. You can see his residual limb there. That pin's coming out of his leg.
What's the white stuff?
probably some kind of medical grade packing to keep it from getting infected right around the site where it's exiting the skin.
Have you seen one in person yourself?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I have. I've not trained one yet, but I've seen them at conferences. Yeah.
Ed Salad, the guy I was just talking about, Ed's up in his upper 40s. The thing about Ed was, it was going to be very risky because if something happened, his femur's only so long. If something happened, he would no longer be able to wear a prosthetic above the knee if the osteo failed.
Right.
And he went through all that.
So think about how long the femur is. If it gets infected and they take more of the femur away, we have a problem.
That upper extremity prosthetic right there looks different. Yeah, he's using a cable there to unlock his elbow. Did y'all see that? He had a cable that pretty much he brought his elbow up, locked it in position. He's got some kind of rotator cuff with it.
Yeah. The osseointegration is doing a rotator system on it.
Yeah. And that's like a pretty basic
See how it rotates?
transhumeral prosthesis. Yes.
Is the prosthesis special in like lower extremity versus upper extremity, or do you like you have to do it all?
They do it all. You don't, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, on this, but osseointegration, you don't see as much transtibial. You'll see some, but you're more likely to see if it's lower extremity transfemoral or a hip disarticulation. And upper extremity, you don't see it quite as often in transradial as you do transhumeral or higher. Okay,
What was your
so,
question? Does the process do it all?
Yeah, like,
The question is
are you
not.
specialized in lower extremity and you have a buddy or that does pretty much all your hands, all your upper extremity?
Well, I've been doing it long enough that I do it all.
Okay.
But I specialize more. I don't really want to call them junior clinicians because they have a heck of a lot of experience as well. But they focus on the lower aspects. They still do microprocessor knee control units and everything else, lower extremity. But I'm the upper extremity specialist. You know, there's just not that many out there. You know, upper extremity. We get a bunch. From what I've heard from the field, from my colleagues, we probably get 10 times more than anybody else. We get children, we get the military because we're on the coast, have the VA contract with 5 different facilities. So, and I've been through all the specialized training. I've been to Europe, I've been to, we stay abreast on all of the current technologies. You know, if it's out there, we're going to get certified in that technology. You have to get certified in that technology in order to be able to apply it and use their systems. Does that make sense? A lot of people don't, a lot of laboratories don't see that many upper extremities. So it's easier for them to bring a team in from one of these companies. They bring the whole team, they'll fly the whole team in. They'll fly 3 or 4 people in for a couple of weeks and help you with your upper extremity patient to fit them optimally. Okay? So practitioners who are not, a lot of practitioners are shy away from it. But this is difficult. It's difficult. Fitting upper extremity. Lower extremity is like, that's easy. Not so
Especially
much,
the
not so much
higher
all the
level.
time. But yeah, the higher the level,
the more
the
difficult.
more difficult. You've got the located electrode sites. But the osseointegration is, a lot of people have looked at it, and a lot of people, most amputees that I've talked to, they're like, you know, that's just weird. I don't think I can do that. It looks weird.
Go to the
I got to take care of the site.
AMPI Coalition is the national support group. And if you go to the AMPI Coalition National Conference, you will see a lot of individuals walking around with osseointegration because it's only been allowed in the States for the last year to 2 years. One criteria they have, and you can understand this, is you have to be smoke-free for a year or longer. They're not supposed to put a OI on you if you are a smoker. Think about healing and infection and why, or alcoholic. Okay, not that you can't socially have a glass of wine here or there, but if you're alcoholic or a smoker, they won't do osseointegration on you. And even though AMPI Coalition has a lot, if you talk to them, several of them went over to Australia or Europe and had it done during one of their trials out of pocket. You're talking to people that had money because American insurance companies wouldn't cover it. So if they had it for more than a year or 2 and they're American, more than likely they went paid out of pocket in Europe. Okay, now, if they had the procedure done, could have fitted him with the right devices here, but they can't have the procedure done in the States. But they could have gone over there and had the procedure done and then find a process the stateside that could actually connect them with the prosthetic parts to use it. But you couldn't have the surgery in the States for the last year or 2.
Yeah. Let me clarify something too. That particular patient I'm talking about, patient of ours out of Denver, they did it for free. He was one of the beta testers for upper extremity transhumeral, that technology. So we presented his story. They decided to bring him on. Once they did the testing at Johns Hopkins, they said, okay, you're a great candidate. They supplied everything for free. All of his travel, his hotel stays, everything was supplied for free. So that's you talking about some.
Actually, in the States, if you had it done stateside more than a year or 2 ago, you were part of a research project. There were 2 of the states in the last 5 years, but the only ones doing it like 2 to 5 years ago in the States who had to be accepted into one of the research projects at Johns Hopkins and a couple of others. There were 3 in the States, if I'm not mistaken, that did research.
It's still, it's just like Robin said, like for Ed Sala and the other transfemoral, the first 2 transfemorals done in the United States, they put them through a year and a half of not only making sure they were clean, but also working out. They made them work out, they followed them. They were in the best shape of their lives. Even though Ed's one of our war heroes, Lieutenant Bradley Tank Commander in Iraq that got blown up. And but he was at the top of the line because he was stable, used his prosthetic every day, worked out every day, was not a smoker. They chose him, but then they made him prove it that he was going to be a great candidate for that technology. So it's difficult. What they're doing is, it's not that difficult, but what they're doing is they're making sure on the front end, the FDA does not step in and say, okay, this is a joke. So their outcomes are going to be so tight, especially with this type of surgery, this type of application for prosthetics. It's going to be so tight that the FDA is not going to be okay with coming and say, okay, we're cutting this off. We're not going to allow that to leak into other surgeons doing it. Okay? So it's real tight on the front end. It should loosen up as we go, as other surgeons become more adept. And other teams, they'll have a whole team of people surrounding them to make sure that the outcomes are very positive.
At the national conference, you see a lot of OIs too. Go ahead, you talk. Okay.
Yes.
How much did it cost like a typical transfemoral surgery or transfibular surgery?
How much does it?
Is that like an expensive surgery, like the same as a knee replacement? Like where does that fall?
State that for me again. What's the cost of surgery?
Yeah.
For like a transfemoral?
Yeah.
Or femoral? Wow. That's a good one. It depends on where you're at.
Is it more than like a total knee replacement?
Oh yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, is that what you're wanting me to compare
Yeah,
to?
I was trying to see like where engaging is it common, like it's relatively common-ish, but I didn't know if it was more expensive than like a total knee or what.
Oh yeah. You'll probably multiply it by 20 easily.
Just to amputate it?
Well, the amputation and everything else is surrounding it,
Oh,
rehab.
like with prosthesis?
No. Not even-
Talking about the rehab dollars.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Getting the patient ready for prosthetics, plus the surgery. Yeah. A lot of the failed knee replacements wound up being transfemoral. Things didn't go well. Infection is a big one after surgery. And so a lot of patients nowadays, knee replacements, hip replacements, physicians have a scale to which they are graded by. So it's going to be very important if you or a loved one or a family member or anybody else you know, make sure that they go research the physician. Physicians nowadays are so good, they've done so many of them that they can actually pick and choose who they're going to do surgery on so that their ratings stay way up high. They'll interview a patient, bring them in and say, you might need to go over here to see homeboy over there. They won't even touch them to keep their rates up high. But they are daggone good. When their rates are high, they're really good. It's important that everybody knows that. Have y'all heard, just on the side, have y'all heard of T-cell research? Anybody heard of T-cell research and what that's doing in the United States? Curing cancer? Anybody heard of it? Anybody see one nod? You? Yeah. If you have anybody, and we all maybe have extended family or family, if I may, T-cell research. I've got 3 girls in Jacksonville, North Carolina, in their early 20s, diagnosed cancer 5 years ago. Got into the free program. It's a free program in the United States. It's kind of like the FDA. It's not readily available yet. They're in there on the research side. All 3 of them are cancer free for 5 years. It's important. And all the research is free. There are a lot of different stations, eastern North Carolina, or eastern part of the United States, western part of the United States. A lot of stations that you can go to. They'll pay your travel. You're part of a research program. It's absolutely amazing. I'm shocked that a lot of people don't know it. How many have heard of it, T-cell research? Anybody? 1 or 2, 3? I'm kind of shocked. So we're trying to get the word out there too because it is viable. Any other questions?
All right. We are going to welcome Steve as soon as he gets his stuff put down
Welcome,
over
Steve.
there. And we're gonna let him come up to the front. Steve, some of this class had you go to state conference. So we are recording. So come up here for me so you're in front of the camera if you don't mind. I'm gonna let Steve tell you a little bit about his story. And then we're going to do after Steve gives a brief introduction and an overview, we're going to take a 5-10 minute break, and then we're going to come back and divide equally into, I just counted the 28 of you here. So only 7 of you are not in class today. So I need you to evenly divide about 9 per group. And we're going to send one group with Mike, one with Steve to see closer up what he does, and one with me. We're going to spend about 30 minutes per station and rotate till you've been to all 3 stations today, okay? So I'm going to have Steve introduce himself, tell the story, give us a brief overview of what he's doing, but we're not going to go in depth because he's going to do it more one-on-one where you get to see closer what's going on. So go ahead and tell us about what's going on.
How y'all doing?
Steve, step this way just a tiny bit. There you go.
Is this good?
Great.
Okay. Stephen Shope. I'm 30 years old. 10 years ago, I was in a high-speed motorcycle wreck from Charlotte, North Carolina, born and raised. Still live there. Still at 130 miles an hour on crotch rocking on I-485. Anybody here ride motorcycles? Nobody. There's always at least one person. Say what now?
Motorcycles are good for business.
I can barely hear you, man.
Motorcycles are good for business.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Right. Organ donor, right? Was doing 130 miles an hour, the slow lane on I-485 between the Providence Road and Matthews exit. Any of y'all been to Charlotte? Alright, y'all know University, Matthews, Pineville, in that order. Okay. So going towards University, I went to college at UNC Charlotte. State trooper was in the fast lane on the inner loop coming from University going towards Pineville. So he was coming this way, I was going this way. So if this is him and this is me, we pass each other like this, right? So what happens when you pass a state trooper? He hits lights. What you do? Look in your mirror, see what y'all do.
Speed up.
Yeah, well that was my mistake. Should have done that. So I let off, turned my head around real quick to see what he's gonna do. If anybody in here rides motorcycles, you still have a blind spot just like a car. It's a lot smaller. But a lot of times, you go like that, you look behind you before you lane change, right? So I look behind me for a split second, look back forward, and within that 1 second, an SUV lane change my lane. So at that rate of speed, I'm not good at math, but you're probably traveling 1,000 feet per second. Long story short, I hit the side of an SUV, went off the guardrail, got thrown off a motorcycle. The first person getting me on the side of the road was a Marine from Iraq, who was also EMT. The second person was a respiratory therapist that worked at CMC, which is a level 1 trauma center in Charlotte. And the third was a resident physician. So to make the story better, the helicopter was only a mile from me at the time I had my wreck. They airlifted me to the trauma center. And I woke up 2 weeks later missing both arms. So it wasn't a self-inflicted coma. They put me in a medically induced coma. A lot of people that have the severity of trauma that I have will just sedate you for X amount of days, stabilize you. This left arm was almost a guillotine-style amputation. Below the elbow is a transradial amputation. They tried to stick the right arm for a week and a half. My right elbow got osteomyelitis. And once you get infection in the bone, skeletal system's all attached, so the chance of spreading and possibly killing you is pretty high. So they had to amputate some of the elbow. Any questions?
Do you still ride motorcycles?
I actually put 120 miles on a Harley on Tuesday. I rode from Charlotte to Hickory. So I got me a little 883 Sportster that I ride. We can talk about that. Yes, sir.
Two-wheeler or three-wheeler?
Two-wheeler, baby. Two-wheeler, baby. Motorcycle has 2 wheels, man. So, yes, sir. Yep.
Did you go back to finish school, and what do you do for a living?
So I did finish school. I got a communications degree from UNC Charlotte, and I worked for Carmack at the time I got hurt. detailing cars. I worked there for 5 years. 3 years with hands, 2 years without. They held my job for me when I got hurt. And about 8 months later, once I got my bearings, they let me go back driving their cars on the parking lot. I currently work for Hanger Clinic. They do prosthetics and orthotics. We're a national company. And I basically work with a lot of arm amputees. So I teach them how to use their arms, a lot of OTs. And it's pretty cool. So that's what I do.
Recreationally, do you do anything besides motorcycles?
I've been married for almost 5 years, and I have an almost 3-year-old son. So I took his ass to daycare this morning. I don't know if any of y'all got kids or not, but the wife wants more, so we'll see. But she still makes my ass change the diaper, and I have to do all the dad stuff, so it's pretty cool. But it's 100 degrees outside, so I'm completely sweating my tail off, trying to get him in the car seat. He's running from me, going circles around the car. So get to the office, I take my arms off, wipe the dump the sweat out, put them back on, go to work. So that's what I do.
If, as I did when I walked up to you two at the door, if somebody wants to walk up to you and shake your hand, what should they do?
I had a bunch of crap on me, so I didn't shake your hand.
I know that, we did, but tell them the appropriate etiquette.
Yeah, so if you don't have hands, like how do you shake a hand when it's not there? I mean, why you gotta make it weird? I've had world-renowned orthopedic surgeons shake my elbow. And it sounds weird, but they do that from a surgeon standpoint because they know that's where my residual limb stops. And they know that's where I have sensation. When you encapsulate your arm in a prosthesis or a leg, you lose sensation, right? So I say shake the hook, man. Like, why are you gonna make it weird? You know what I'm saying? Like, I look at the surgeon, I'm like, man, who the hell shakes somebody's elbow? You know what I mean? Who does that? So,
If you're missing your right hand, should I shake your left? If you're only missing one side, should I switch hands or do something weird, or should I just shake the
nah,
hook?
just shake what you got, man. Shake what you got. Shake what your mama gave you. So I mean, that's how I interpret it. And I mean, people have questions, man. I take the time to answer them. I love it with little kids. Like, boy, mommy, he's got robot arms. I'm like, you damn right I got robot arms. It's when the mom tells the kid, shuns the kid, around so they don't have to explain, there's people out there missing arms. And I'm like, I'm a real boy, you know what I mean? I'm a real person, so I'll sneak around the other aisle, so I'll have to text the kid again, and I can tell the mom's super uncomfortable, but I make him talk to him, it's pretty awesome. So I don't know, I mean, and once the kid knows, oh, he has no hands, all right, you want to sit in the car? Kids are funny like that, so. Anyway.
Real quick overview, body powered versus myoelectric. What you have of both, and what do you use when?
Body power versus myoelectric. I'm pretty proficient with both. If you're lucky enough to lose both your hands, you sort of learn fairly quickly. Versus someone who's unilateral, who can just make the conscious and take their arm off. When you're prosthetic side dominant, I don't have a choice. If I want to do anything for myself, I gotta put my arms on. It's just how it is, man. There is things I do around the house without my arms on. It's just a lot harder. Body power versus myo. Body power is great until you feel like the rotator cuff's moving, or you're having shoulder issues. You're always doing overcompensation. So it's really good in like a 2 foot by 2 foot cube out in front of you. So getting outside that window because you're restricted to the cabling and the harnessing. It makes it a lot harder. Whereas myoelectric, you reach up above your head. I'm about 20 to 25 pounds of force, proportional control. It's pretty sweet. Talk about hygiene, reaching behind you. The cable operated arm, you're only going to be able to do so much. So yeah, riding a motorcycle, I use body powered arms because, let's face it, man, I don't want to destroy these guys. And I also don't want to, if my battery dies with the electric arm, stuck with light. So people don't think about that either. So there's plenty of times that I've had my arm die and having to nudge it and just do straight up Captain Hook style. I've had to drive like that sometimes, and I drive a 6-speed GT PI, I'm a huge Volkswagen fan. I've had 8 Volkswagens in the past, so I shift gears in my car. Get stuck with the shifter. Had to leave my arm on. Take my arm off and leave it stuck with the shifter. When I get somebody to pull it off. So body power arms are great. You're not restricted to battery life, but you are sort of restricted to grip force. So I could grab whatever the hell this is. I could grab that real easy. I mean, I could take this arm off, and theoretically, until the end of time, this thing will hold this, whatever this is. Because it has proportional control, meaning you'll squeeze with both fingers equally on both sides, right?
If you did that with the body power, would you crush that?
Well, so if you did it with a body power arm, you have to maintain tension. You have to, flexion or scapular protraction to maintain tension. Unless you didn't have enough rubber bands. If you don't have enough rubber bands, you got something together with a body power arm, that's going to slip out. Right? You have a lot of rubber bands, it's a lot of force on the patient. So body power, the ratio is 3 to 1, meaning for every 1 rubber band, let me use this name real quick. For every 1 rubber band down here, right? That's a count of grip force. Yes, ma'am.
How does it go to open and close? Like what are you doing with it closing?
We're going to do that more individual. Let's ask those type of questions more when it's close up so you can see it. I think that's going to help you better.
It's a secret. So this hook down here has a rubber band, right? So that means it can squeeze 1 pound. Well, for the patient to open it, they have to exert 3 pounds of force. Okay? It takes, I think, 4 inches of exertion to open the mechanical hook all the way. So if the patient doesn't have a shoulder or has limited range of motion in the shoulder, they might not be the best candidate. And it might be more functional in a myoelectric type device versus a body power arm. You guys still with me? So my right side is above the elbow here. So I have a hydrant. So it's a mechanical elbow with an electric hook. Okay? Fairly simple concept. I like mechanical elbows better than electric ones. I think electric elbows, they're not very strong. Of course, the manufacturers that make the componentry will tell you how great they are, but in reality, when the elbow can only lift 10 pounds, you're like, dude, I just dropped my case in the middle of the leg in the parking lot. You're lifting me 10 pounds, I'm pretty pissed off. Versus a mechanical elbow, where you can lock it in place and reach down and do opposition and grab things.
What motion do you use to unlock that body-powered elbow?
So it's sort of a weird motion. You bring your shoulder up and you kind of kick it out and you put tension on this cable here. You guys see that? I'll come down there.
Abduction extension. Kind of kicking it back.
Bring it up, kick it out, lock it. So this harness is anchored under my left axilla, okay? So if you see that, unlock, and you relax. And it's like a puppet. You bring it up.
So it's pretty much the same motion that locks and unlocks it, right?
Exactly.
How many positions can you lock it in? Isn't it like 11?
I have no idea. I think I have the heavy duty version, and I think there's less because the more little slits you put in there,
Yeah, the less
less likely to strip.
weight you can put on it.
Like let's say that's, what do they call that, 0.
Okay.
So, 1, 2, 3. 3 again, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I might be able to get 1 more, but my housing's hit.
Okay. So, were you right-handed or left-handed?
I was right-handed, now I'm left hooker hand, depending on where I'm
Because of the loss of the elbow, right? Which is why you switched dominance, because of the loss of the elbow?
Right, and I didn't explain to them that I had a lot of orthopedic injuries in the shoulder. So this is how I like anatomically lift my right shoulder. This is 4 range of motion. So
I know.
passively or actively, I forget.
That's active.
If you were to range it, like if there's a push on this, it would actually go higher. But physically, that's how as high as I can get. So my ball and socket was broken in 3 places. The pectoral head is internally rotated. It's all sorts of jacked up. Yes, sir.
We had a brief discussion about osteointegration. Do you consider it?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Go back and we're going to rephrase that question again for the camera. Have you thought about having osteo integration, and why or why not?
Yeah, from your perspective as a patient.
So, from my interpretation of osseointegration, it's a really cool technology, but I think it should only be fit on certain candidates. Like if you have an electrocution that's a bilateral shoulder, or someone that's a humeral neck, or even a four-quarter, I mean, I'm relatively functional, or pretty functional the way I am. For me, it's infection rate. I don't want to have infection.
Even less arm.
You guys already know, I can tell you've already talked about it. You got a rod going straight through your bone. I've already had osteomyelitis in the past. If I'm going to do something that may promote it again, and then God forbid it fail, I'm going to be a shoulder amputee. Every time they go in. The problem is titanium heals a lot of bone, but not the skin. So you always have this like seeping orifice of skin. It's like a cesspool for infection. So your boy here, no thank you, but I've seen a couple patients that could have been a good prosthetic candidate, but prosthetically, you may know, a shoulder is a pretty hard fit. A four-quarter or interscapular thoracic, someone who maybe had a sarcoma. I've seen a 12-year-old kid who had to lose his whole shoulder, scapula, and everything. It's really noticeable amputation. So those types of people tend to fit like a cat, or even like a woman. How do you wear a bra if you don't have a shoulder, right? It's pretty hard. You feel like some kind of cat, so they can fill their shirt out and start there. And anything else, you're supplementing. There's not even a shoulder joint on the market that's available as far as actively moving yet. It's coming, but then you have an elbow, wrist, and hand to work with. So you're talking about all that weight, and you probably know you have to suspend them almost like a TLSO, almost like a body jacket, to suspend all that weight from somebody. There's patients that can do it. Osseointegration. I mean, I've seen a video of a guy who's literally almost at the shoulder level, and he can do this with a prosthetic arm because it's connected to his freaking skeleton. He can do this. It eliminates a lot of rotation in the socket. That's all I got. That's all I really know. I mean, I met a guy at a Amputee Coalition of America meeting in Greensboro a couple of years ago that had it done. He's from Australia. You can go outside the country and get it done, but the FDA is really like, you know, I think it's absurd. Again, I think it should be, I think it's good where we can't do somebody the traditional way. I think it would be pretty cool because they have more function than having a socket and caps that have to buy.
That's exactly the same thing we talked about. FDA blocking it.
Yeah.
And I've got one patient under Newburgh that is living through Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
And at least have a Bluetooth chip in the sky.
Yeah.
He's small, actually.
Yep.
He's successful.
It's good.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break. We're going to start back at 3 o'clock, and I would like you to come back with 9, 9, and 10 in the groups to start at 3 o'clock into 3 groups so that we can rotate. So if you're up on your phone or whatever you're doing,
I think I'm going to use.
move the camera around for each place, whatever